Welcome to another Star Trek Fleet Command video. In this video we will be covering PvP crews. We're going to start with the best and move our way down to some different crews that might be more common for some lower level players. Also to keep in mind that there are several other combinations that can be used other than these, but these are just some of the best ones. So I may do a separate video for specifically just for a lower level player in the 20s, low 30s, based on officers that there's a good probability that you will have. So let's get started. The absolute best crew that you can get at this point for PvP is Carol Freeman as captain, Honor Guard Worf, and Lorca. So, Carol Freeman, her ability. On combat, start against a player. Carol increases your shots by 100%. So that's doubling your shots. That is awesome. And also, she works with the isolytic cascade damage by 75% for one round. This is based on if the enemy player has any state. State being morale, burning, hull breach, type thing. Anything along those lines, and it says it right here. Also assimilated. So that's Carol Freeman. Honor Guard Worf can be used as a captain. He does have some ability to help with the armor piercing, but that's not his main power. His main superpower. It's the Rage of Khitomer. For the first 8 rounds of combat against another player, Honor Guard Worf increases the critical hit chance on the ship by 60%. So for those 8 rounds, you have a high probability of causing criticals. Major thing. Okay, Lorca has a thing called manipulation, which this works specifically with hull breach. Fighting players at the start of each round, if the opponent has hull breach, increases weapon damage by 100%. Okay, so that's a good one. Quick thinking is the ability that is the superpower. At the beginning of each round, 70% chance of dealing a hull breach. So, Lorca does the hull breach, and Honor Guard Worf does the criticals, with Carol Freeman doubling your shots. So that's super powerful. Now, I want to point out with Honor Guard Worf, one thing to keep in mind: if you get the Amalgam, that is the ship that will allow you to easily source Honor Guard Worf. So you definitely want to get the Amalgam. It's also a great ship for raiding bases, but that's a whole different story. If you don't have Carol Freeman, you can always use 5 of 11 here. 5 of 11, does have the ability to increase your shield deflection, armor, and dodge by 200% in this situation, and also can get you more resources up to 60%, but that's only for hostiles. So you can use these kind of interchangeably. Just some options there. Moving on, and I'm not going to go as detailed, but if you look at an interceptor and you go ahead and put this particular crew here, the lizards, also known as the Gul Dukat crew, you can hit very hard with your interceptors in a PvP battle. You can look at each individual ability. This crew right here is the best interceptor crew. And if you don't have build-ups here, you can always put Daymar in right here. Also works very well. So keep that in mind as an interceptor crew. Okay, so moving along, we're going to look at the battleships. Battleships, very similar to the interceptor crew. If you have these 3, use these 3. If you don't have this guy right here, whose name is escaping me at this point in time, go ahead and put Ortega in there, and you still get that extra synergy and bonus. This is your battleship crew. Use these guys on a battleship. Okay, next we're going with the Enterprise and going with some officers that you have a higher chance of having at this point in the game, and you can also source them through the actual officers, and I'll show you how that is using transporter patterns. So you'd think you'd want Captain Kirk in here as captain, and you can put him there. He increases your damage. But with these officers, these three here is basically the strongest crew you can get with this synergy. So that's a good crew that a lot of players will probably have or are closer to getting. Now, I do want to note down that this whole crew right here gives you a lot of different things to your PvP. You end up with more critical damage. You end up with more isolytic damage. Again, more isolytic damage. These three officers here give you the ability to do assimilate. If you have all three of them, throw them on there. They'll just make your ship more powerful, make your attacks stronger. Great thing to have. Kiraneers here also increases criticals. So with all of these officers here on a ship that's maxed out like your Enterprise here, you can hit pretty hard. Okay, so just want to point that out. Next ship we'll look at is an Explorer, and here's your Explorer crew right here. So you know, Weyoun is, you know, your start there. If you have Jackson here, you can use him. I might be butchering his name because I don't have them all memorized at this point in the game. But you can definitely switch Ikotica in and use this crew as well on an Explorer. Feel free to look at the info and look at all of the different individual abilities. Also, I do want to point out this crew right here would also work very good on an Enterprise. Moving on, let's go ahead and look at a crew that you probably will have through the discovery, and that's how you source these officers. So these three officers in particular work well with burning. So this Georgiou is your best burning officer pretty much in the whole game, all the way around. So this crew here is what you'd want to use. You can mix and match these, change them around a little bit, and still get a very strong attack. So I'm going to move into some officers that are probably going to be a little bit tougher to get. You either got them in the battle pass in the events or you did not. So let's go ahead and look at these guys. Each one gives you a different thing. Picard gives you morale. Worf gives you hull breach, and Riker gives you burning. Now, you can use them together, or you can use them individually and just have one of them as captain. That's a pretty good approach. Now, I will point out each officer ability works based on the ship you're attacking. For an example, Worf here, 500% increase in weapons damage to interceptors. Picard is to explorers, and Riker is to battleships. So with this crew, exactly the way it is, you're increasing damage to any kind of ship that's a warship by 500%. Can be very powerful, very, very good crew. So also note, as you tier these guys up, they become massively more powerful. 500 each level that you take them up. Now I am going to swap out another crew here real quick that you may have that is strong, and these officers are also easier to source. You have Marcus, you have Yuki, and you have Zhao. Okay, so you have a mitigation officer, you have a morale officer, and with Yuki, Yuki's good against Romulan ships, but also Yuki is good at depleting their shield health, just drains their shield health. Now, right now, with these two officers, we would end up getting a synergy, and it would end up being 17%. So there's another possible crew combination for you. That would be something that you could have. Also, I do want to point out that there are some Klingon crews here that can add some additional abilities for you, and can also be used with Honor Guard Worf. Each one of these is PvP based, so they're PvP stack based, so they definitely add to your ability to attack. You may or may not have all of these officers, but I just want to throw out some additional options out there for you, so you have them to work with. Let's see, is there anything else I want to throw out at you real quick? I mean, there are a ton of different options here, but with that said, I will point out real quick that you can use Charvenek, also blend and match with any of these crews. The Charvenek, Marcus, and Kang all have unique abilities that will either cause a burning, a morale, or a hull breach. And they also have unique abilities that are based on having either health or attack or defense stacked, and they add an additional percentage into your attack. So you can always add them in there as a potential option. So here's a potential crew that could help you out. Also, Tau, if you've sourced that officer, is wonderful. I do want to point out Tau's main ability. If you're burning, the opponent is getting a hull health decrease each round by 6%. So, and it's cumulative, so that it continues to just stack each round and round and round, and that can be a great officer in a PvP, and it also works on hostiles. So that it's something to keep in mind. So hopefully this video has been helpful, giving you some ideas of some officers that you can use. I will toss out one other real quick option: Rare Bones, Rare Spock, and Epic Kirk from the Kelvin universe are great to use. This Spock, this Kirk. Go ahead and put the group, put Bones in here. This crew is what you want to use if you don't have any of those other crews, because you end up getting shields, you end up getting morale, and then Bones' ability increases the defense, not that great, but here's where the ability gets better. Gives a 20% bonus to all the officer abilities during combat. Now, with that stack, that ends up going up higher after I would save. So I'll go ahead and save, assign officers, take a look at that. And, 42% increase in officer abilities. So that's a 42% increase in Spock's ability to raise shields. Also a 42% increase in the probability of raising morale. So an option out there for you. Hope this video has been helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, and have a great day.